Hey, I'm James Samuel, the founder and CEO of Pluribus Incorporated, the makers of ANJEL Tech, the world's premier personal security system and service. I am here today, privileged to be joined by Ms. Tori Cooper. And Tori, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself so I don't get it wrong, but Tori is everything here. We are at Human Rights Campaign here in Northwest D.C., and there was an accident, so you might hear some more sirens because we are in Northwest D.C. So Tori, we're going to maybe pause for this ambulance, and nope. Okay, they stopped their sirens. All right,
the
great.
ambulance paused for us.
That's right. That's
because
it.
This safety is so important.
That's it. There it is. So tell us, introduce yourself.
My name is Tori Cooper. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative at the Human Rights Campaign.
Perfect. All right, there's the ambulance, just so you know where we are. There was an accident like 1 block over, 2 blocks over?
If that, yes.
Something like
that.
that.
It's very, very close. As a matter of fact, you may be subpoenaed because it looks like you're getting a little of it in your background.
Oh yeah, I have video evidence, right? The power of video evidence.
The power of video evidence.
What? We did not plan this, but it just happened. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
So, Tori, tell us about, let's talk about safety for a second. In the backdrop of the building, I love your murals, I love your building, I love your organization. Let's just look at your murals real quick right here, right? So you have Black Lives Matter, Black Trans Lives Matter, and then you have this American flag that has, only 29 stars on it?
So yes, 29 stars. We call that the equality flag. And those 29 stars represent the only 29 out of 50 states that actually have protections for trans and LGBQ plus folks. Well, what it says is that they're lawmakers who don't care about us. And if the lawmaker, and it also says that those same lawmakers are pushing policies that are anti-trans, anti-LGBQ plus folks. And if the lawmakers are saying it, the folks who have the most power and privilege in society, then they're folks who have fists and guns who are also going to repeat the same type of actions and have the same type of thoughts. And that small, loud minority of people, because most people are in favor of supporting LGBTQ plus rights, but that small minority of folks who are very, very loud and very, very vocal, and unfortunately very, very violent, they're actually pushing policy in place because they're very strategic about where they're exerting their power and their privilege. And they're putting policy in place that actually limits the protections that are there for American citizens. Trans people happen to be American citizens.
That's right.
And they're actually promoting policies that encourage violence. Understanding violence is with fists and guns, but it's also with policy, it's also with legislation, and it's also with words. But it is those things. And so if there are laws that are not inclusive of all citizens of the United States, again, no taxation without representation, that's also one of the constitutional rights. And so if there is not fair representation in laws and in lawmakers and in policy and all those other things, then suddenly it leaves us at risk.
Let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about safety. So what does that at risk, what does that look like? You mentioned violence, policy violence, fists, guns, physical violence. What does safety mean to you? Describe safety.
If you ask 1,000 people what safety means to them, you'll get 1,000 answers. But I think one of the things that all of those answers will have in common is security, freedom, happiness, peace. Those are common themes that folks will share. And it means all of those things for me, and certainly for folks in my community as well. And so when there's the absence of that, suddenly we feel much more, I use the term at risk. Vulnerable is another word that comes to mind. Vulnerable not just against the lawmakers, but against folks who are walking down the street because I may have on a t-shirt, or they may realize that I'm trans or someone else is non-binary. We feel vulnerable that we could be attacked simply for living our lives. And it's unfortunately happening every single day, even in places like D.C.
So talk to me about, let me talk a little bit about ANJEL Tech, and just again give my appreciation for the support I've received from the Human Rights Campaign to help provide an additional layer of safety, an additional layer of security to the community, right? And ANJEL Tech, as I started in the introduction here, is the world's premier personal security system or service. It is made by people of color, right? It is engineered, designed by African American technologists, myself, my team, and so on. And so we understand what it means to feel insecure, unsecure, not safe, right? We have 400 years of institutional knowledge in our DNA about how to be safe, how to stay safe, and how to navigate unsafe spaces, and what helps we need along that way. And we roll that in to our technology, right? We built it with that knowledge, with that backdrop, with that cultural understanding, that cultural wisdom. And so it's a privilege to be able to share that and provide that to other communities who are, intersectional with ours, and also in need of that same kind of security. So to be able to provide that to HRC and to the HRC community is it's a real privilege, and it says a lot, and we thank you for that trust. And talk to us a little bit about what that technology means and how you see it helping the community and why it's important and how we can make it better.
So first, I want to say thank you. And then I also want to say I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because America, without question, without exception, is the greatest country in the world. I want to make sure that this is on record when I say this. With that being said, we also have an over 400-year history of folks like us who have been at increased risk of violence, who have endured generations of systemic racism and our ancestors being enslaved, and unfortunately a system that perpetuates slave mentality, that perpetuates bondage, even though we are free. Along with slavery, along with the institutional racism that exists, there's also a certain amount of violence that exists. And I mentioned earlier, I'm black before I'm anything else, because that's what people see first about me.
Right.
They also see that I'm kind of curvy, but they'll treat me differently based on all of those things. When you see me as a black person, if you're a person who's racist, but you happen to be fine with women who are fluffy size, you're going to treat me horribly. Sometimes that horribleness comes out in violence. And for trans people, for non-binary people, for all people, when we feel a sense of security, something like that comes from ANJEL Tech technology, suddenly it helps to take away some of the disadvantages we have in society. It reverses some of the marginalization that we feel. And in a way, it actually not just evens the score, but probably puts us in an advantage over some of the folks who are there to do us harm. In part because we have witnesses. These cameras, this technology acts as a witness to violence and to hatred and to discrimination. And heck, if we hadn't seen videos of black men being killed in the streets, if we hadn't had video evidence of Breonna Taylor and so many other folks, if we hadn't seen a video of Sandra Bland being accosted and arrested in a car, we might never know what had happened to these folks. And so for trans and non-binary people who are able to experience ANJEL Tech, and all people, let me make it clear, for all people who are able to experience ANJEL Tech, suddenly the ground is shifted a little and there's a bit more fairness and hopefully accountability as well. And I believe not just is this something that brings accountability, but in a way it provides a bit of a shield against those who might want to do wrong against us.
A deterrent.
A deterrent.
Right?
Yes, absolutely correct. And you're a veteran. You know how important it is for how important accountability is. We're seeing it now, and folks are still being sentenced and facing judgment over the insurrection that occurred on January the 6th. There's videotaped evidence of folks who were committing crimes against the United States, against people who were inside of the Capitol on that day. And so we're witnessing in real time what that accountability can look like. And some of those folks would have gotten away had it not been for
the power of video.
The power of video.
Yep, that, all right, we got somebody taking a can across the road here, but yes, having that witness, having that proof, that record, so that there's no question. We know what happened.
And we know who.
And we know who. We will find out. And the other thing about ANJEL Tech is that we also know where. because of the mapping feature. We have the geolocation piece of it. So
may I also add, we know when, because people are being sent this video in real time.
that's true. We know exactly when, and we're notified about it, because sadly, you don't get a knock at the door. Some people never know what happened to their loved one. They have to start calling the hospital. With ANJEL Tech, you get notified immediately. Like, this is happening right now, and like as in the case of, say, Tyree Nichols, it's happening 80 feet from you. You can actually walk out of your house, hang a left or a right, and you'll be right there. And he's calling for you, right?
May I also add, in real time, again, if you move 2 steps to the back, we can see evidence of an accident in real time.
You see it over there?
Blessings to the person involved in all of the people involved in the accident. I hope there was no injury, and certainly no serious injury. But suddenly, see how ANJEL Tech can come into view?
Yes.
How it could really help even in investigation. It may not be physical violence, it may be a car accident. All kinds of scenarios where this could be the safety that folks need.
That's beautiful. I'm going to air this, right? Because that is such a great validation for us. Thank you for that. How can we make it better? What can we do to better serve the community, to make the technology more attentive to the needs of the community? How can we improve upon it?
I think the best thing to do is to encourage folks to use ANJEL Tech technology, providing safety for yourself, for your family, for the people that you love, and then provide the appropriate responses back. What needs to be better in your community? Because there's some things that I could say in D.C. that needs to be better, but that might be different than someone who lives in Denver, Colorado, or someone who lives in Atlanta, Georgia, or Sacramento, California, or New York. And so the best way to figure out how well it's going to work for you is really to become a subscriber.
Yes. Become a member of our community. Subscribe.
I can't believe I'm giving you a free commercial, but that's how much I believe in this product.
Well, I thank you for that, and I believe in you and what you're doing here at Human Rights Campaign to ensure that we all have human rights. Human rights are human rights and dignity and respect as a human being. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for trusting us to help you do that better, stronger, safer. And you have the last word, because you're much better at this than I am.
Well, I think you summed it up really, really well. It is important for folks to feel safe when navigating these streets, as we say in the community. It's important. And when there is evidence of the who, the what, the when, and the where, suddenly, again, it helps to even the playing field. So I encourage each and every one of you who's paying attention to this, who is still checking us out after all of these minutes, to think about additional ways that you can protect yourself and your family and your loved ones.
Thank you, Ms. Tori Cooper. I'm James Samuel. I'm signing out here from Northwest D.C., and we will see you later.